So the next competence is about subject knowledge and didactic skills. It's like vital for a teacher and to know about what they're teaching and to know in depth about what the students need to know in order to explain their questions about why and how and what and who. Didactics, also obvious, is to transfer the knowledge from the teacher to the student. It's about forging their knowledge, about using strategies and activities to fill in a lesson and teach the students. I have confidence in my subject knowledge. I know that I am knowledgeable in history. I know a lot about history, specifically European history, which is this that we've been taught this year as well. I know I am capable of reading myself into a topic and explaining about that topic. Well, we've only practiced on peers, but I think that I will be able to explain to students as well what the important parts of it are, what the key elements of it are, and to dismiss all the details around it, but I can tell about the details as well to make it interesting and to show the relationships and show the examples of the relevant topic in history. In this first revise, we did a general revision of European history from I think from ancient Greece until the modern times, so 2000, 2010 approximately. This was just a general revision, so I think that in order to teach and teach it well, a more in-depth knowledge needs to be required, and I am fully committed to learn more about history and to learn more about the specific stories in history. It's a personal interest of mine, but it also will help me gain confidence in professional communications, because as I explained in my communications competence is that if I know what I'm talking about, I am sure of my topic, I will be able to talk more comfortably and teach better. Yes. Naturally, if you have time, if you know your topic beforehand and you have time to prepare your lessons, for example, with teaching practice, we were doing a topic that we hadn't covered yet in ITES, and it had been a while since I did anything with the build-up to the Second World War and the Second World War in history in general. Last time I was in high school, which was 3-4 years ago. So when you know the topic is coming and you know classes about the topic is coming, you can definitely read into it and do research and preparation for that topic. But I think if you have a general knowledge, you can also answer the questions that randomly pop up, which will show competence and will show that you are a smart teacher, and then the students will trust the information you give more than the fact that you answer with I don't know, or I'll have to look that up. At the same time, there will be definitely circumstances where you will not know and you will have to give that answer. But if you are often enough sure of yourself and often enough able to answer any questions the students have, it will build a better bond and it will make the lessons better, I think. Oh, sorry, sore throat. General knowledge. Oh, I lost it. It's also European knowledge. So I am fully confident on European knowledge. However, certain curricula ask for different types of history. So with the Canadian and the British curricula, American as well, and particularly they have their own national history that they teach. So in those circumstances, I am less confident because I don't have that specific knowledge yet. I hope to gain that knowledge. in the years to come before I have to teach in some kind of school like that. But same goes for with the IB program. It's not much about a curriculum that dictates knowledge. It's more about the subject gets picked, so that can be anything. That can be African, or that can be Asian history, or that can be a specific event in South America. If it's those kind of events, I have not much subject knowledge yet, and I'll probably never get all of the subject knowledge. So then preparation time and research is really important, and being able to do that well is vital. But to get a more all-rounded, for me, I really want to have a more all-rounded historical knowledge before I start teaching, specifically for the gain of confidence and just personal interest as well. I like to know. I like to know what happened somewhere else. Because I now generally know what happened in Europe and what happened in the Netherlands specifically, but I want to know the specifics of certain topics that have little relevance. And then didactics. Didactics is pretty much for me is linked to my pedagogics, for the fact that the teaching style I use is in development, and the interactivity, like the interaction and activities, two words, interaction and activities, that I learned throughout this year to change and develop my teaching style, but also to teach better, I guess, is something that I developed this year, and I will continue to develop next year. It's about, I learned about the format of a lesson plan, and about the vital activities that one can use, like Think Per Share or other kinds of group works, with an expert group, or with a class discussion, forming a mind map, all kinds of activities that I learned this year, and for next year I'd like to practically apply in making my lessons. Another thing that I want to focus on is my learning objectives. I usually dive into a topic, focus on the subject more about the learning objectives, and I'd like to develop that specifically next year to make sure that, because I see my peer students do this, and I'm like, that's a good thing, and I'm like, I should apply that. And for next year, I really want to focus my learning objectives better, and then cut parts of the lessons that don't aid towards those learning objectives and don't aid towards the fun of students engaging in learning. So if it's something trivial that worked in my initial plan but doesn't focus towards the learning objective, I want to learn to build the lessons towards that more, and be stricter on myself in cutting parts out that don't add anything, or that spend more time on that. So if I have an initial plan and then I'm like, that's a good lesson, and then I read back the learning objectives and they haven't been full, like, okay, do change the plan, even if it's a good lesson, it's not this lesson. Yes, I hope I got that across. And I think maybe for the didactics, I did a lot of grading for the first time during teaching practice, and I think that's maybe a part of didactics and knowledge as well. It's not something I had a lot of experience on, and because history grading is different from other kinds of grading, as there is a lot of nuance that comes with answers, I'm glad I did get this practice. You have, of course, the easy grading when one answer is right, or an answer has to have a specific set of words, because, if you have a question that's like, okay, name two parties in the Spanish Civil War, and you have two parties that are participated in the Spanish Civil War, you get your points, no matter what you put around it. If you have the two parties, tick, 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 point taken. But if you have a more general open question about why did the Spanish Civil War start, there's different answers possible towards that question, because there's different ways you can phrase it, but there's also different triggers or different situations. Like, there's always the instant moment of like, okay, now we're in a war, but there's this build up and this entire situation around it that has different points that, if without those points, the thing wouldn't have started. So in those answers, it's way more difficult to get someone like a fail or a good answer, because they're right and they're not. And the practice with that during teaching practice was really nice, and I also got to work with actual British curriculum papers, Cambridge papers, and how the system for that worked. So yes. And then to repeat my goals for last year at the end of this, it's more, it's specifically the learning objectives and the furthering knowledge in general, I guess, part of that, and the practical application of didactics.